Welcome to the FedEx Champ Car Championship and the season so far. Two names have shone brighter than all the other. Scotland's very own Dario Franchitti and Colombian rookie Juan Montoya.
We're getting ready then for the start of the first race of the season. It's a 20-race season this year. A lot of racing to come. We're getting ready for the start now. Through turns numbers 3 and 4, and it's Greg Moore and Adrian Fernandez on the front row together, remember. Patrick Carpentier, and in the Hogan racing car is Helio Castroneves. We await the first green flag of the year. The start is happy. Away they go, and Greg Moore leads them down to turn 1 for the start of the season. Up into third place comes Helio Castroneves. Patrick Carpentier in fourth position, and it looked to me as though Michael Andretti was making a pass around the outside. We've got a crash in turn 2. A crash, the yellows are out already, and several cars are involved in this early stage. Alonso Jr. is one of them.
Yep, and Naoki Hattori Ben is the other driver.
Naoki Hattori, the Japanese driver, teammate. Oh, and that's Raul Boesel. That's one of the Team Green cars. Raul Boesel, who is standing in for Paul Tracy. And the red car there, I think, was Richie Hearn that was also involved in that little incident. Well, I don't know about little. I think it's a pretty big incident looking at these two in the wall there at the exit of turn number 2. Alonso Jr.'s red and white Penske right into the wall with the right rear ripped off that car. And Naoki Hattori to his left, that blue car, he's the Japanese rookie joining Gilles de Ferran in the Walker Racing team. Well, let's see if we can get an opportunity to see what happened here, Jeremy. This is the replay from the Goodyear blimp overseeing everything.
He was right on the extreme left of the picture there. Hattori and Unser got together there, and Unser's car pinned up against the wall by Hattori, and a heavy, heavy impact there, even on the first lap. These cars are doing in excess of probably 150 miles an hour around that turn.
We rejoin the race on lap 59.
Greg Moore and Patrick Carpentier still battling for the lead of this race.
And in the meantime, there goes Gilles de Ferran past Mauricio Gugelmin into turn 1. That is for 6th position.
Wow, that's amazing. De Ferran up to 6th place. And remember, he's on a different stop strategy. He won't have to come into the pits as soon as these drivers, and we're hearing that Greg Moore will be in next time. We've seen Scott Pruitt come into the pit lane already, and Greg Moore is going to be coming in soon. Also in the pits is Dario Franchitti. Franchitti makes his pit stop now. He was up in a 5th place, but remember, De Ferran is benefiting, and into the pits comes Greg Moore. So Moore makes his pit stop, and the two players' cars are going to make their stops one after another, presumably. Greg Moore, the early leader. Now, how fast can Patrick Carpentier go now that he's got the lead of this race? This could be crucial to him. If Carpentier can put together some quick laps now and then have a good pit stop, he's got the opportunity to get ahead of Greg Moore. The players' crew goes to work, and rapid work indeed from his mechanics. The fuel goes on board. That's what takes the time. It's a gravity feed system for the fuel. It takes a while for it all to go aboard, and finally he gets out of the pits, and into the pits comes teammate Carpentier. So you'll see the two cars there. Carpentier is coming down the pit lane as Greg Moore goes out. Now, it all depends on how fast Patrick was on that last lap, how fast he came into the pit lane, and how quickly his crew can turn him around and get him back out once again. The card officials there to make sure that everything rules-wise is adhered to on this pit stop. They wait for the fuel to go in, and away he goes, 11.8 seconds. Good stop for Carpentier. And now he accelerates out of pit lane as we see Greg Moore coming past our commentary box window. He goes past as Adrian Fernandez is the race leader at this point. He hasn't come into the pits yet. Greg Moore and Patrick Carpentier, I can see them going through turns 1 and 2. Moore is going to go back past Carpentier. They've both made their stops. And meanwhile, Fernandez leads. Andretti, who's not yet stopped, he's now second.
Yeah, and right behind him, in actual fact, there's only a couple of car lengths between those two. I'm looking around trying to find them on the racetrack, actually. But actually, here comes Fernandez. That's why I couldn't see it. Fernandez is into the pits. We were on board there briefly with the new race leader, Michael Andretti. But here is Adrian Fernandez, car number 40, for his first pit stop for Patrick Racing.
Fernandez, who won 2 races last year. He won at the Motegi Oval in Japan, and then he went on to win at Mid-Ohio as well. Always extremely competitive on the ovals. We've also got Juan Montoya coming in, Christian Fittipaldi into the pits, Michael Andretti also choosing this moment to come into the pit, and that means that Gilles de Ferran has now moved up into the lead of this race with these two coming in. Gilles de Ferran will be in front now because, of course, he stopped earlier. So fascinating. Let's just try and listen to the radio here. Radio communication between Ed Natman and Michael Andretti.
Hold it. Go.
Go, he's told, and off he goes. Got to keep to the speed limit. I think it might be Jimmy Vasser coming in now. Let's just take a look. He's in the pit lane. That's Jimmy Vasser, I think, into the pits. Juan Montoya has already made his stop, and he's just outside the top 17 places. Now look at that, quite a big front wing change there. You can see quite a heavy change to the front wing. Jimmy obviously not that happy with the handling of his car. Wind has changed considerably from yesterday to today, and they're still trying to guess the setup for the cars. Just a tiny change can make all the difference. So Jimmy accelerates back out, and in comes Gilles de Ferran. So in fact Gilles does come back onto the same strategy as everybody else, but he may have a little less fuel to put on board, so this may make it a fairly quick stop for Gilles de Ferran.
That's a good point, because when you make a pit stop here and just take on fuel and fresh tyres, the chances are you're going to lose a lap. Of course, having not made a stop and having made up so much ground before he made that pit stop, he will be able to make up quite a bit of ground relative to the race leader, but he will still lose the lead before he rejoins the race. And I think into the lead now, in actual fact, is Dario Franchitti.
Dario Franchitti then. So Franchitti, who has stopped, remember, it looks as though he has taken over the lead of this race. What about the two Forsyth cars? Well, they have dropped behind Michael Andretti as well, so it seems as though their stops took a little longer than the opposition, and Franchitti is now the race leader.
We rejoin the race with Greg Moore leading after Dario Franchitti lost the lead during a pit stop on lap 114 and is now running fourth.
And there are just 10 laps to go. Greg Moore leads 1.4 seconds ahead of Michael Andretti. Jimmy Vasser is third. Dario Franchitti just half a second behind him in fourth position. Now, just looking on down the order, Max Papis is fifth still. He's a long way down, though, some 14 seconds behind. Then Gilles de Ferran in sixth. Marc Blundell is being shown as seventh now, so he's dropped a little bit down the order. Patrick Carpentier, eighth. Ninth place for Fittipaldi. Juan Montoya has come up into 10th position. Guterman is 11th. And PJ Jones is in the final point-scoring position at the moment in 12th place. Has anybody got an answer for Greg Moore? Or will he run out of fuel? We've seen him pick up a win before when other cars have run out of fuel. If we go back to Detroit a couple of years ago, that's what happened on that occasion. Now Greg seems to be going very quickly. Last lap was a 27.4, so was this lap. I don't think there's anything slowing Greg Moore down at all. And Andretti, I don't think, has an answer for him this time. Waiting for Vasser to go through. In fact, he's been through already. Half a second still at an advantage over Dario Franchitti. And as we get into these final 8 laps now, Jeremy, it does look good for Greg Moore, doesn't it? If the fuel concern is okay, if he's got that much methanol in there, he looks set for victory here.
He certainly does. He's looking, he's lapping very consistently at 27.4 again. That's the last 4 laps in a row at 27.4, and he's just inching away from Michael Andretti. The gap now almost 2 seconds as Michael Andretti goes inside the slower car into turn 3. And here is Greg Moore coming off turn 4, and he's looking oh so smooth. It's just 6 laps to go this time around.
Greg Moore came close to winning it last year. This time it looks as though it's going to go his way. And there is the battle between Jimmy Vasser and Dario Franchitti. Vasser on board with him now. Third place for Vasser at the moment. But Franchitti is closing up on the backstretch. I can tell you that he's right behind Jimmy. Or look at the onboard picture from looking in the other direction, and you can see how close Franchitti is to the back of Jimmy Vasser's car. And there's a slower car to deal with as they come down the start-finish straight. Franchitti goes to the inside. This is the battle for third place. Down into turn 1. Oh, a good move from Franchitti. Vasser tried to hold him off, but he just couldn't do it. And Franchitti is up into third position now. So it's Greg Moore leads, Michael Andretti second, Franchitti in third. 5 laps to go.
Fabulous move by Dario Franchitti. You wouldn't think this guy is a relative novice on the ovals, nor that he said himself that he wasn't terribly comfortable on the ovals. Certainly didn't show that their great move to pass one of the acknowledged oval masters here, Jimmy Vasser. Brilliant move there into turn 1.
So Vasser has to go settle for 4th place at the moment. He's got a big advantage over the next man on the road. That's Max Papis in 5th. and Gilles de Ferran, who's moved up a little bit. He's now in 6th place. But it looks as though Greg Moore and the Forsyth team have judged this race to perfection, and particularly on the call of pit stops. It looks as though Team Green got it wrong by bringing Franchitti in on that last yellow, because although Dario's moved up to 3rd, he is not going to have enough time, I think, to be able to chase down Michael Andretti and Greg Moore. A 26.8 on that last lap, though, for Dario Franchitti, so he's the fastest man on the track by about 3 or 4 tenths of a second. Greg Moore goes across the line. There goes Michael Andretti, and there goes Dario Franchitti. But it's 2 seconds between Andretti and Franchitti, and there's only 2 laps to go. There's just not enough time for the Scot to be able to close up on the top 2. And surely now, Greg Moore is going to take the win here in Homestead. His teammate Patrick Carpentier is still running. He's in 7th place, having just got past Mark Blundell. Blundell seems to be slowing a bit on this last stint, and he might have a little problem. The white flag waves, and the leaders are onto their last lap. Greg Moore about to take the first win of the season. He's got about a mile to go, on board with Michael Andretti in 2nd place. He's too far back, and it's going to be a reversal of last year's race result when Andretti just picked Moore to the line. Here comes Greg Moore. The checkered flag is awaiting the Canadian, and he wins the opening round of the 1999 championship. Andretti 2nd, Franchitti in a closing 3rd place.
Adrian Fernandez won round 2 in Japan. Could Dario Franchitti get a podium finish in Long Beach, California?
Here we go then. Are we ready for the start of this 85-lap race?
Position 2 on the map.
Listening to some radio communication, and here we go then, the start of the Long Beach Grand Prix underway, and Tony Kanaan and Dario Franchitti get underway, but there's quite a lot of delay behind. Are they out of the hairpin cleanly? Yes, they are, and this is the battle down to the first corner. Brian Herter's on the inside. Herter's gone for the lead into turn 1. Great move from Brian Herter. Kanaan's back to 2nd. Dario Franchitti is squeezed back to 3rd, and Max Papis in 4th place. But Brian Herter, who led much of the race here last year, has got in front.
Brilliant move by Brian Herter. It was a fast-paced start there. Tony Kanaan, he wanted to get the field spread out, but Herter was on the ball. He was right tucked in behind Tony Kanaan, took full advantage, break deep into the first corner. Great move. Ooh, you see Dario Franchitti sideways there.
Yeah, Franchitti had it all crossed up in 3rd place, kept it off the wall. He's brushed the wall a few times in qualifying and in the practice sessions this weekend, and he's got to keep it off the walls in the race if he's to survive 85 laps of this demanding track. But it's Brian Herter who leads from Tony Kanaan as they'll come round this time to complete the first lap. Look how close Kanaan is to the back of Brian Herter's car. Franchitti in 3rd, then Max Papis, and then watch out for Juan Montoya in the Ganassi car. The man who's replaced Alex Zanardi with Ganassi. Very aggressive. Oh, and in trouble. That's one of the Forsyth. It's Carpentier. Patrick Carpentier. What does this man need to do to get some luck? He was the first retirement in Japan, and he's the first in trouble here in Long Beach.
And what a great aggressive first lap there from Brian Hurt. He's not known for his aggression, perhaps. Last year, of course, he was beaten here by Alex Zanardi, but a brilliant move on the first lap. And, you know, it's tough to pass on this track. It's very sinuous here through the new section. We're now back onto the old section there from a different direction, and they turn right there at the new turn 7. They're through this turn 8 and 8A. Flat out kinks to the left and then a right onto Seaside Way, and they're up to about 175 miles an hour before they're hard on the brakes again. Tony Kanaan down the inside!
Yeah, he's gone through. Kanaan retakes the lead. Fantastic stuff. Kanaan just judging it to perfection. Good tarmac there, which is breaking up a bit through there, Jeremy. A little bit of evidence of the track just beginning to break up a touch. Perhaps that's making the grip a little inconsistent through the left-hander. But Tony Kanaan is out, and that means Juan Montoya leads. The Colombian is now leading this race, chased by Dario Franchitti. And what about this man? His first season in Champ Car racing. He's only done 2 races, and they've done very little recent street or road course testing. And what an amazing performance from Montoya. There's team manager for Tony Kanaan, that's Steve Horn. Disappointment for him, but Chip Ganassi. We've seen his face so often in our broadcasts, and he is happy man. Full course yellow, and the pits are open. We could see some pit stops here. 39 laps to go as Tony Kanaan walks disconsolately back towards the pit lane. But the full course yellow has been called. 39 laps to go. Now I wonder if they can. Let's go down to Jan Vickers.
Any idea why he got wide there in that corner?
No idea really, Jan. The car was working fine. He was very comfortable with it. I noticed on the TV the track started to break up a little bit there, so maybe that caught him out, but otherwise I don't know.
Up until that point, were you still very concerned about tire wear?
Not really. The tyres were working perfectly. You know, they were at their limit, but that's what we expect from Firestone, and no, the tyres were fine.
Thanks, Steve. Let's get to Gary. Boy, I tell you what, Jan.
Well, look at that. Montoya's gone out ahead of Franchitti. Great stop from both of them. Good from Montoya, under pressure, having to make a good, clean pit stop. And that's really great job from Montoya. I'll tell you what, there are so many mistakes that can be made.
Reset the fuel.
Being asked by Ganassi to reset the fuel.
Watch for the pace car. The pace car will be out there picking you up somewhere.
And guided by Chip Ganassi all the way here.
Montoya and Franchitti battled each other all the way, but Montoya was leading on the last lap.
It looks as though Juan Montoya from Colombia is heading for his first win in Champ Car racing, and it would be the 4th straight win for the Ganassi team here at Long Beach. What an incredible record, and he really has done the business behind the wheel. Superb drive. Hearing from Chip Ganassi there. Just take it easy, Juan. Don't do anything silly. You've opened up an advantage now already over Dario Franchitti, and he does not need to do anything dramatic. He will see the white flag as he comes out of the hairpin and accelerates down towards the start-finish line. The white flag waves, and Juan Montoya starts his last lap.
Absolutely, there he goes. We saw the slower car of Michel Jourdain pulled off to the side of the road next to the hairpin. That's a shame. That was one championship point that Jourdain was looking at. No more. It is P.J. Jones that should inherit that position. But here is Juan Montoya, just giving a little bit extra berth to those concrete walls, through that fountain section here, through turn 4, up to this tricky off-camber corner there in turn 5. Inch perfect again, not taking any chances. That's the corner that caught out Tony Kanaan and Cristiano D'Amata. Not so for Juan Montoya. Onto the back straight seaside way, just over 1 mile to go.
Juan Montoya is heading for victory in Long Beach. His first season of Champ Car racing. Only his 3rd race in the championship. He's come into this championship and he has been so impressive. He's got 1 corner to go. The man who has replaced Alex Zanardi in the Ganassi team has picked up where Zanardi left off. He slides it out of the hairpin. Juan Montoya wins his first race in the United States. Brilliant performance today from the 23-year-old Colombian, and what a job from the team. Ganassi, just listen to that radio. Fantastic. The cheers, the emotion from Montoya. He's so controlled normally. Now it's a chance.
You come in the back door.
And Franchitti coming along to congratulate him after a well-driven race from these two. Franchitti beaten today, but he holds 2nd place, and very important points, some 15 points for Dario Franchitti. So an important race for him today.
After Montoya's impressive debut win in California, the Honda Reynard team were hoping for a 2nd successive victory.
And here we go then, getting ready for the start of round 4 of the championship. Juan Montoya leads the field for the first time, his first ever pole position in only his 4th race in the Champ Cars. He's made a break and it's green flag, and Montoya leads on the first lap from the white car of Helio Castroneves, an unfamiliar car perhaps to some, although he's run well up in many of the races so far this year. That Lola chassis in 2nd place has been in superb form. Then it's Franchitti in 3rd place with Paul Tracy, his teammate, next up, and then Greg Moore, and no, sorry, that was Patrick Carpentier, his teammate, making up a place.
And P.J. Jones here trying to get past Carpentier. Good dice there. There is Max Papis who gets past the car of Adrian Fernandez, the winner in Motegi just a couple of weeks ago.
So, good start from Juan Montoya then, capitalising on his first ever pole position on an oval. But this oval, they say, more like a road course, as P.J. Jones has a little look at getting past Greg Moore. Now, the drivers say overtaking is going to be almost impossible in this low downforce setup with the cars. But are they going to be right? Is it going to be easier than they think? They're taking it carefully. The early laps, the tyres are still coming up to temperature, and we've found throughout the practice days that it takes some 4 or 5 laps before the tyres are fully up to temperature. But having said that, P.J. Jones is the man who looks most likely to overtake in these early laps.
speaking to Michael Andretti just this morning after the warm-up, he didn't really know what to expect this afternoon. He has been a proponent of this switch to the smaller wings. He says it's going to bring more the element of the driver, the real talent of the driver is going to be allowed to shine more with this configuration. But he really didn't know what to expect this afternoon. He thinks he's got a good car. He thinks he's going to be able to make his way towards the front of the grid. We'll see.
Juan Montoya has an advantage of about a second, and then there's another 1.5 seconds back to Paul Tracy. It is, in fact, in third, ahead of Dario Franchitti in fourth place. Mark Blundell fifth, ahead of Patrick Carpentier in sixth position. But watch Juan Montoya. He has been so impressive again this weekend. He said everybody warned him about this place. You're just actually riding on board at the moment with his teammate, Jimmy Vasser. But just going back to Montoya, he said everybody warned him about this place. They said, after he'd gone well early in the year, well, you just wait till you get to Nazareth. That is a completely different deal. And he said, I love this place. It's great. I'm really enjoying it. He says you can hustle a car like you can on a road course. He doesn't seem to be intimidated by the proximity of the walls. And in practice and in qualifying, he has been breathtaking with his commitment. Meanwhile, though, his teammate there, Jimmy Vasser, as you mentioned, Jeremy, in confident mood this morning. Jimmy himself running in 11th place, and he was the race winner here last year.
There is Juan Montoya, the race leader. Right ahead of him, though, is Robbie Gordon, who is running last in this race. And ahead of him is Alonso Jr. This is where the interest really comes. Now they come out to the traffic. How are they going to be able to get through? There is Montoya going inside. Robbie Gordon into turn one. Right behind the both of them is Helio Castroneves.
This is where the 1 mile oval gets very tight and demanding as the leaders start to pick their way through traffic. And that's something they'll be doing for the rest of the afternoon. And this is where perhaps somebody can gain an advantage. If the leader gets caught out a little bit by somebody moving over when he didn't expect it, the second or third place driver might be able to sneak through and take the place. Juan Montoya now coming up to lap Alonso Jr. Now, Alonso Jr. is back in the race. Remember, he suffered a bad accident in the season opener and broke his ankle. He's racing with a carbon fiber cast on his ankle, and that seems to be fine. He doesn't report any troubles in the car. The only troubles are with the car, which has not been performing at all well this weekend.
No, it hasn't. He's been struggling all weekend with that car, and he was fast in the morning warm-up, but, you know, he's stuck there in line. He's sitting behind Scott Pruitt, and really there he pulls to the inside to try and essay to make a pass. It's not on at that stage, and he has to tuck back into line, and therefore behind him, so do Juan Montoya, and right behind Montoya there is Helio Castroneves. Look at those two.
But look, oh, somebody's lost it. It's one of the team green. I think it's Frank. Is it Tracy? Tracy has lost it coming. No, it is. Let's just check. It is Paul Tracy as they come down the pit straight. Paul Tracy's lost it. He was in third place, but he hasn't done any damage, and he's going down the pit lane to get back into the race. The course has gone yellow. No surprise there. The pits are closed for the moment, and it's very early in this race. Only 11 laps completed. It's unlikely we'll see anybody come in unless one or two at the back might decide to take advantage of it. We'll have to wait and see. Paul Tracy, this is the replay then, and that in fact is the same place that we've seen a number of cars getting into trouble this weekend.
That's the only place we've seen cars get into trouble, funnily enough, Ben. It's coming off that final corner there and up the hill there, up the slight incline towards the start-finish line.
With 81 laps to go, Montoya was holding on to the lead by the skin of his teeth.
Now then, look at this. Another chance for Castroneves. Oh, then it's Blundell trying to get up to speed. And Castroneves has got on the inside, and he's taken the lead from Montoya. Great. He snatched the advantage there, and they still got to make pit stops. Oh, and Helio just defending the inside, and Jones has gone round the outside into second place.
Fantastic stuff, and they wheel, bang, bang, wheels there. BJ Jones and Montoya. Montoya tries to dive down the inside of Barrisman, and BJ Jones has lost it.
Jones, who moved up in a second, has lost control, and he's going to go yellow, and that brings out the yellow flag. He's trying to get going on PJ. PJ, you were going so well, and he gets back on the track. The safety crews do go out on track, though, just in case there's any debris. They throw the yellow as soon as there's a problem on these kind of tracks. Now, what this will do is set us up for a tremendous battle in the pit lane now. They are due to make their stops, and we will see the other leaders coming into their pits to make their stops. It hasn't helped Mark Blundell a great deal because, of course, he's only just made his stop.
No, it's killed Mark Blundell's chances in this race because he made that stop. He is now 2 laps down, and these other guys can make their pit stops under green. He'll gain one of those laps back when the leaders do come in for their pit stop. But bad luck there by Mark Blundell, and again, great strategy by the race leaders. They were able to run their fuel length window longer than everybody else, and here is that move. There is Jones and Montoya, and they touch wheels there, and too late on the brakes there is PJ Jones, and around the car goes. He did a good job actually to keep it off the wall.
That was amazing, wasn't it? And whether they actually touched wheels, it was hard to see whether there was actually contact. There nearly was. Great racing. Here we have another look at it again. Red car, Montoya, remember, there. And coming through, this was when Helio got past. Helio went down the inside. You saw how wide Montoya went. Helio got up the inside, good piece of driving, and then of course PJ got a good run on Montoya coming out of turn number 2. Montoya was actually quite quick, had a little look at getting down the inside of Helio, couldn't do it, and PJ went right around the outside of him at turn number 3. But here we go. This is the critical pit battle now of this race. Hogan Racing versus Ganassi. The pressure is on these Hogan boys.
Certainly is, and this crew led by Simon Morley, a former Formula 1 mechanic, and the crew were doing their very best. Helio Castroneves, a little bit of impatience there, and that will cost a couple of vital seconds.
Yes, and look at that behind him. Another car was coming out at the same time as Montoya gets away cleanly. Good stop from Montoya. He gets out in front of Helio Castroneves, and in fact Alex Barron's car has got out between them. Now Barron was further down the order in 12th position, but interesting, there's a car between them now as they come out of the pits.
Absolutely right, and Alex Barron there, he'd worked so hard to stay on the lead lap before that pit stop, and tremendous work there by the Target Chip Ganassi crew. Once again gets Montoya out into the lead.
Montoya's pit crew had done the business for him, so with 3 laps to go, it was time to repay the favour.
Just 3 laps to go now, 3 miles for Juan Montoya to take his 2nd win in a row in the Champ Kart Series. He's come in as a rookie, had no idea what racing on ovals was all about. He went to his first oval at Homestead to start the season, and he's going to come through to win on his 3rd visit to an oval, but his first ever visit to a 1-mile oval. I tell you what, 12 months ago, when Jimmy Vasser won this race, it was the first win for Ganassi on any 1-mile oval, and here they are. Their new boy is going to do it all over again here today.
And I think Jimmy Vasser's had a pretty good car this weekend. He thought he had a good race car, but the traffic situation and the fact that he made his 2nd pit stop again too soon, and he was now back down in 11th place. But here we are, just 1 lap to go for Juan Montoya.
Here he comes, the Colombian, the 23-year-old from Bogota in Colombia, is going to take his 2nd win in the Champ Car Series. Back-to-back victories for Juan Montoya, for the Ganassi Racing Team. He comes up to cross the line. He's done it again. Wow, fantastic. This guy is a real star. 2nd place for PJ Jones, his best ever finish by a long, long way. And on the podium for the first time in well over a year, Paul Tracy gets a decent result in the end. Cristiano De Massa, the best ever finish for Toyota in 4th. Adrian Fernandez 5th. Michael Andretti 6th. Ahead of teammate Christian Fittipaldi.
It's round 5 from Rio de Janeiro. Can Dario Franchitti peg Montoya back, or would the Colombian rookie sensation make it an incredible 3 wins in a row?
Here we go then, building up to the start of the Kart Rio 200, round 5 of the 1999 FedEx Championship Series. It is the battle between Fittipaldi on the inside, Franchitti on the outside, and here we go, the green flag, and surely this time it's a clean start as they run down towards turn 1 for the first time in this race. Watch out for Montoya. Montoya's on the dirt on the inside. Montoya's going for the lead. Montoya into the lead. Has he gone in too fast? No. A beautiful passing manoeuvre from Juan Pablo Montoya, and it's Fittipaldi in 2nd.
Look at the lead he's stretched out. From the 2nd row, he's jumped out to a huge lead. And that's going to be one of the tightest packs I've seen on the start in a kart race for a long time. Everybody in there. Montoya, brilliant to the lead. Fittipaldi in 2nd, and Dario Franchitti in 3rd.
If he ever gets an opportunity, if he ever sense there's a chance to overtake, you just sense that Juan Montoya will always take it. He never holds back if there's an opportunity to go past. Look at this gaggle. Somebody getting a bit sideways.
Junior, a little bit of sideways movement there. Now remember, Robbie Gordon started at the back in the Toyota, but remember Japan, he started way at the back, and within 8 laps he was all the way up to about 10th position. So watch out for maybe a hard charge from Gordon, who had problems in the qualifying with his Toyota. He could be coming up through this grid, but at the moment, Montoya's got it all.
We're looking back from Tony Kanan's car. He is in 5th place, and you're looking back at Jimmy Vasser in 6th place. 2 Reynard Hondas, both of them featured well last year. And in fact, the Honda power always seems to do well around this track, has lots of tractability and performance out of these slower corners. On board now with Jimmy Vasser, and he runs in 6th position. Let me just quickly run through the order then. It's Montoya, Fittipaldi, Franchitti, the top 3. 4th, De Ferran. 5th for Tony Kanaan. 6th for Jimmy Vasser. 7th is Greg Moore. Now, Moore's made a good start because he started down in 10th place, and he's always featured at this track. So watch out for the Canadian. His teammate Carpentier is 8th, Paul Tracy 9th, and Tarso Marquez in the Penske lies in 10th.
Well, it's interesting to see that Carpentier has managed to stick with his teammate and go up to pick up those positions, because he started alongside Greg Moore on that row. Tarso Marquez is probably the one who has failed the most at this point, dropping back to the 10th position. And P.J. Jones has now worked his way up into 13th. Watch out for Adrian Fernandez, though, who was back in 17th. Didn't have the qualifying run he would like, but we know he's strong on these ovals.
We'll also watch out for Michael Andretti, who started a long way down the order, in fact in 15th position. He's in 16th at the moment, as you can see from the graphic in the top left-hand corner of the screen. This is a replay of the start. Now, Guy, just talk us through Montoya's move on the inside.
Montoya's down on the inside. He's on the inside of row 2. He ducks even lower. Franchitti comes down to try and fit in behind Fittipaldi. Fittipaldi goes up to block Franchitti, and then Montoya just slips down the inside. And amazingly, they all get in line and get through turn 1 safely. But a fantastic start for Montoya, which has given him now a 1.83 second lead.
Remarkable, as you say, and once again, the exuberant Colombian who put so much energy and effort into his driving and yet is so smooth with it, has grabbed the initiative in the early stages of this race. Bit of movement on Franchitti's car. You can see how hard he's trying in the slipstream, but of course he's got that problem that he is in the slipstream. He's in the dirty air behind the black Swift of Christian Fittipaldi, whereas Juan Montoya has clean air. He's got the opportunity to make the break.
The thing now for these two guys, Fittipaldi and Franchitti, they need to hook up, and they need to chase down Montoya as a pair. They'll be quicker as opposed to battling each other, because that's just costing them time. And of course Montoya is able to stretch his lead, and that's exactly what Montoya wants. He wants to see these guys fighting. You see them coming down the main straightaway in the line. You see the guys try and break the draft. Franchitti and Fittipaldi need to hook up and play together to try and catch up with Montoya. I should point out that Gilles de Ferran is the first of the Goodyear cars. He is in 4th position overall.
Pretty fast lap times they're doing as well. Average speed 167.995 miles per hour from Montoya on that last lap. And that, with a full tank of fuel, would still have put him somewhere like 20th place on the grid. So that's pretty impressive from Montoya. He's under the 40-second barrier and the fastest man on the circuit.
Montoya had looked comfortable until a slow pit stop handed the initiative to Franchitti and Fittipaldi.
And now our leader, Montoya, in the pits, and Fittipaldi didn't follow him in. So Christian will lead a lap. No bonus points for that, but of course, certainly the pleasure of leading as the crew go to work, taking their time.
He's putting on that visor. No, he's given up with the visor. Look, he tried it. He took it off the pole, but he's thought to himself, there's no way this is going to work. Just covering up what is already a mess, and it probably doesn't make it any better at all. Away he goes, a great clean stop again from Montoya, again showing that his inexperience in this form of racing really doesn't seem to matter. As Christian Fittipaldi comes in, he's got a back marker ahead of him in the pit lane there as well, so that could be crucial. He does get into the pits cleanly, and now the Newman Haas crew go to work. He was just over a second behind Montoya when he came in, and that means Franchitti now is in the race lead.
And it also means that Montoya is getting this information over the radio, and he's got to put in a quick lap now to try and make up from that difference. Oh, a good stop by the Newman Haas team, and Christian Fittipaldi is out and underway again. Franchitti, our new leader, he's going to have to pit soon, and then Max Papis could be our new leader.
With 6 laps to go, Montoya was looking unbeatable.
Montoya has driven away again, and it could well be that Franchitti was just hindered a little bit in his attempts to keep up with that gear change.
With that gear change problem, and the fact that Montoya went really early this time, down the middle of the back straight. Great tactics by Montoya to change each time we've had a restart where he goes on the gas.
Yeah, pulling away again, Montoya. Look at that. He's opened up an advantage that should see him safe now with some 7 laps to go. 5 laps to go, in fact, as they go across the line this time. The laps passing by extremely quickly there. Christian Fittipaldi. He started on his first ever pole position, but unless something very peculiar happens, he is not going to win his first race here this afternoon. It's been a good start to the season, though, for the Brazilian. He finished in 9th place in Homestead, 3rd in Japan, 5th in Long Beach, 7th in Nazareth, and a 3rd place here would certainly keep him up there in the overall championship. But Montoya driving real perfectly again, right out to the concrete wall, and it looks as though, barring disaster, he should have wrapped this one up.
Montoya looking very, very strong. Dario's got a little bit of a gap between himself and Christian right now. Christian needs to worry a little bit about Max Papis, who's looking awfully strong. And Montoya, having stretched that lead to 1.5 seconds, I'd say, by now. Tony Kanaan also having a great run in the 44 McDonald's car, trying to get into the podium finishes. And as you mentioned, Christian is probably one of the best starts to a season he's had in his career in kart, with 2, if he gets it today, 2 third-place finishes on the podium. That's more than he's done in previous seasons.
That's right. So Christian Fittipaldi can be well pleased with the start of this season. Certainly been a lot better than for his teammate Michael Andretti. The last couple of races have not gone at all well for him. 3 laps to go then, and Juan Montoya is heading for a hat-trick of victories. And what does this tell you about not only the driver but the team? Reliability has always been tremendous for the Ganassi team. Today they've seen a problem. They had Jimmy Vasser go out. Very uncharacteristic to see a mechanical retirement for one of these cars. But for Montoya, the car has run absolutely faultlessly in these last 3 races.
Oh, big wobble there by Montoya coming out of that turn. That was a close moment for him.
Yeah, very close. In fact, he's doing very quick times into the 38s. The only driver into the 38-second bracket. Everyone else just in the 39. And that shows you just how hard he's still pushing.
Pushing it very, very hard at this point. We saw what happens when he pushed it down hard. 2 to go. Montoya's probably got a huge smile on his face at this point, listening for all sorts of noises coming from the car and hoping he can make it 3 in a row. And I think as a rookie, he'll be the first person to have done that.
Alex Zanardi never won this race. He came close last year when that battle with Greg Moore was decided in just the closing laps when they came up to lap Arndt Meyer. Jimmy Vasser has never won at this track either. But Ganassi looks set for victory here today in Brazil. Just 1 more lap for the Colombian, and he is going to score a hat-trick of victories in the early season. What a way to start his Champ Car career. He comes up through turn number 2 along the backstretch, building up the speed once again to just over 215 miles per hour. The car has behaved impeccably this afternoon, and he has driven superbly. He comes out of the final corner, and Juan Montoya is going to do it. The championship leader coming into this race is going to extend his championship lead, and Juan Montoya makes it a hat-trick of wins. The Ganassi team celebrate down in pit lane, and this boy is a real revelation in the 1999 season.
Gilles de Ferran in round 6, 7 and 8, the competition was getting intense. It's round 9 in Cleveland.
They're in position to take the green flag. They accelerate out of this chicane, get themselves back into side-by-side formation, and then the start of the 100 laps will be underway. And we wait for it to go green. It is green. And away they go. Somebody was in trouble at the back. Montoya gets going, and he's clean into the first turn. But will the rest of them make it? A little bit of bumping and boring, but it looks pretty good.
It was Robbie Gordon who got hit sideways at the first one. That's Brian Herter who spun out. He qualified in 4th place, and Herter already a spinner.
And we've got cars on the move. Paul Tracy getting past Roberto Moreno. Good start that from Paul Tracy. Montoya is our race leader. Where is Franchitti? He's a bit further down the field. Castroneves trying to go around the outside of the gaggle of cars. He started well down the order as well, remember. So Castroneves starting 17th, trying to find some places. And Tracy has got himself up into 4th position. He started down in 8th.
A tremendous start there. There's Max Papis there who can move around the outside of PJ Johnson, trying to get back in the line there for turns 7 and 8. This is the east end of the racetrack. Very quick corner once they're properly up to speed, which are really not at that stage in race. But look at Montoya, already a pretty good gap over Gilles de Ferran.
A pretty good gap, a huge gap. It's not even 1 lap yet. There's Franchitti. He's right behind Maurizio Guterman, looking for a way past as we have side-by-side action. Look like Christian Fittipaldi Capaldi trying to get a place back. He lost some places at the start. And across the line, at the end of the first lap, Montoya leads. Franchitti down the inside of Guterman. Has he made the move stick? Yes, he has. He didn't go in too quick. You will see some people trying that move and then running a bit wide on the exit. But I think Franchitti just judged that right, and he got past Guterman safely. And look at Tracy. Paul Tracy in the other Team Green car here, right behind Michael Andretti.
Great stuff there. And other people on the move. Tony Kanaan moved up 6 places from 20th to 14th. Now Lancer Jr. right behind him. But there is that battle there. That is Michael Andretti holding on to 3rd place. His best qualifying effort of the season. And behind him is Paul Tracy. But they're in trouble then is Michel Jourdain Jr.
Yeah, Jourdain, he qualified 20th. That's one of his best starting slots of the year, but he looks as though he's thrown that away already with a quick spin at turn 3, but he keeps it running. No problems. We don't need to bring out the yellows. So there was Michael Andretti running in 3rd position. We've got some of the cones and tyres that mark the apexes of the corner have been knocked onto the track. That is turn 3, I think, where Jourdain went off. Now that could cause a yellow because that's obviously a problem.
And also in trouble once again is Elio Castronovo. He's had engine problems all weekend. He had a problem this morning. They had to change the engine after the warm-up, and he was very slow coming out of the final chicane and lost a couple of places. He comes out at turn 1, and he's also passed by 3 or 4 other cars. Clearly problems for Elio Castronovo.
And Tracy just got past Andretti, so Tracy's on the charge. Paul Tracy moves up into 3rd place. There he is, left-hand side of your picture, the Canadian. Paul Tracy, a winner this year already in Milwaukee. Really on a roll now. He's picked up his season. Last year was a disaster, and now he's got himself into 3rd place. And he goes chasing after Gilles de Ferran, who's lying 2nd, and Montoya, who leads this race by 1.8 seconds after just 2 laps. Montoya flying up front at the moment, but there's a very long way to go, and physically this race is extremely demanding.
Dario Franchitti's race ended with 81 laps to go, and he was forced to retire with throttle problems. Montoya was maintaining his lead, and then the heavens opened up.
And Juan Montoya now is back in front in this race.
And Michael Andretti is in the pit lane once more, and it really is raining quite hard. Now there is Michael, splash of fuel there. That's wet tyres going on, I think, for Michael Andretti.
Right, change of tactics for Michael Andretti. Wet tyres, you're spot on there, Jeremy. Well spotted. And he goes out on wet. Lancer Jr. is into the pits. De Ferran is coming in as well, and they are going to put wets on. Now, this is crucial. Lap times have slowed down considerably over the last lap or so. You're looking at, oh, look how slippery it is as he comes out of the pit lane. Montoya coming in as well. So this is all change once again as the rain comes down. Listen on the radio, Chip Ganassi talking to Juan Montoya. And what a shame for Moreno. That was the worst timing, of course, if they put Moreno on wet. Just think of the advantage he'd be in at the moment.
Moreno has not come into the pits. He does go past in the lead of the race. Paul Tracy, though, is in the pits in 2nd place. And that is one of the... Patrick Conconti also stays out there. Gilles de Ferran in the pits.
Out comes Juan Montoya then on his wet tyres and accelerates down the pit lane. Now, Andretti lost a lot of time having to come into the pits. Moreno is now in front in this race. Now, here is a spin from Gilles de Ferran. Did he manage to avoid hitting anything? Yes, he did. But then, did he manage to get it turned around? He's in the pits, he's had his wet tyres fitted, and he's back out again, but that lost him some ground compared to Juan Montoya, obviously.
Fascinating strategy here. If I look across to the west there, the sky is a lot brighter, and all at the same time, the track will dry. Look, it's pretty wet now, look at it, very, very wet, but it's pretty humid here. There is a little bit of a breeze, and the track, I think, will dry out fairly quickly.
Look at PJ Jones spinning there. He lost that really under braking. That was a slightly strange spin. Oh, only just missed. I'm not sure who that was. It might have been Richie Hearn, who just avoided him. Now, here is our race leader, Roberto Moreno, on slicks. He's on slicks in these conditions, and you can see for yourself how difficult that must be. The track is slick on line as well, where they've been laying rubber down all weekend, and Moreno trying to hold on to this guy. He's got Robbie Gordon breathing down his neck as they cross the line this time. Moreno is race leader. Gordon has been lapped, so he's not a challenge for the race leader this race. Meanwhile, Brian Herter comes out of the pits. Oh, and there's been a big accident there.
Jimmy Vasser, I think.
Yes, one of the Ganassi cars with Tony Kanaan nearer you in the McDonald's car, but one of the Ganassi cars is it. Oh, and Marquez goes off in the same place. Tasso Marquez crashes in exactly the same spot. It's on the exit of turn number 8. Look at the rain coming down. These guys on slick tyres.
Unbelievably, the yellow flags are not yet out. This is absolutely insane. There's 2 cars in the wall there at the fastest corner on the racetrack, and it's still green flag conditions. That I do not understand.
It's Vassar. We have confirmation that it's Vassar. It's not Juan Montoya who's been battling for the lead in this race. It is Jimmy Vassar up there. And just look, still, now it's yellow. Now it is full course yellow at last. Presumably the yellows were being waved up at that corner. Let's see if we can see what happened here. Well, there was somebody...
That was Gugelmin. There's a Hollywood car of Mauricio Gugelmin there who just about got away with it, but those 2 there heavily into the tyres. That is Jimmy Vassar and the McDonald's car there. Oh, Tony Kanaan, a heavy hit for both of those 2.
Look at the rain coming down now. Moreno's been off as well, apparently, and there's Paul Tracy spinning, and there Gilles de Ferran, and he's on wet. Gilles de Ferran's on wet, so shows you how slippery it is now. Now, here's... Oh, Fittipaldi spun in the pit lane. Fittipaldi spun in the pit lane.
Well, you know, it's so treacherous. You can see he is on slick tyres still. Absolutely treacherous conditions.
It's horrible out there, isn't it?
Adrian Fernandez lost control of his car on lap 65, which brought out the full course yellow.
Here we go. We're getting ready to go green. De Ferran gets on it once again. Look at the restart from Montoya. Brilliant. He is so quick on these restarts, and Montoya's going for it, as you would expect. Montoya goes for it down the inside into turn 1, but has he carried too much speed in? Perfectly judged, but De Ferran on the exit tries to get him on the way out of turn 1, and they are side by side as they accelerate through the kick up towards turn 3, and a restart again from Juan Montoya that would make you think that he's been doing rolling starts throughout his career instead of standing starts in Formula 3000 over the last few years. Absolutely brilliant. Couldn't have done it any better. And now Gilles de Ferran's got to watch out because Michael Andretti's right behind.
And you know, we saw last week in Portland, the first couple of laps of green when the tyres are not up to temperature is a problem for the Goodyear runners. It was for Gilles de Ferran last week, and apparently so here right now as well. Look at Michael Andretti sliding there, and there goes Paul Tracy taking full advantage. Great move by Paul Tracy. Ooh, sliding wide there.
Well, this is great. Look at that. Michael gets back at Paul Tracy. Tracy was too wide. He got on the slippery stuff, and Michael comes back at him again. Now Tracy has to think about it into turn 9, but Alonso Jr. right behind him will also be looking for an opportunity. Montoya goes across the line as race leader. Gilles de Ferran crosses 2.4 seconds behind in second. Then it's Michael and Robbie Gordon trying to get past Alonso Jr. And that's for position. Robbie is flying here today, and Robbie Gordon has just moved up into 5th position in that Toyota-powered Reynard.
Brilliant cross by Robbie Gordon. He's had a couple of spins here. There, though, right behind him is Alonso Jr. trying to get that place back again. Brilliant restart there by Robbie Gordon. And now what can Alonso Jr. do? He has not been competitive this season. He is in the Lola chassis this weekend. This is what, the 3rd or 4th race he has run the Lola. And finally, they have a pretty good handle on that car. It's working a lot better for him than it was the first few times that they ran it. What can he do?
I said Robbie was in a Reynard. Of course, he's in a Swift now because he changed around a few races ago. So that's the yellow and blue car there. Robbie Gordon in the Toyota-powered Swift, running extremely competitively at the moment, and obviously enjoying these conditions. In fact, Robbie's had some good runs here in the past at the Cleveland track, and now he's down the inside of Tracy. Oh, and he's made the move beautifully. Beautiful move from Robbie Gordon, and that puts him up into 4th position now. Now, can Tracy come back at him into turn 1? I don't think so. Not quite close enough. Robbie defending into turn 1, but may have taken too much speed in. Gets on the power, accelerates cleanly, and Tracy gets back alongside it. This is racing. This is motorsport at its best. And Tracy now, I think, oh no, not quite. Gordon takes the wide line in, and they just both sneak through turn 3 with Gordon still ahead in the battle.
Brilliant stuff. This is wonderful. This is what Champ Car racing is all about. Wheel-to-wheel action, no quarter, arse given. Great no-holds-barred racing. Fabulous to watch the crowd here on its feet, cheering away here at the grandstands. Great stuff.
Well, Montoya has built up a 4.2-second lead, so perhaps again, as you say, those Firestones working better than the Goodyears in these conditions. We saw it the other way around in the damp condition. Now perhaps Firestone, the advantage swings back to them, and Michael Andretti bearing down on De Ferran.
Montoya kept the lead to claim victory number 4 of the season.
Great job today, pal. Great job. You're the man. That was a hell of a job. job today.
Christian Fittipaldi won round 10 in Wisconsin, but could Dario Franchitti take some points from Montoya in Toronto?
Out of the final corner, this will lead them through to the start-finish line. Gilles de Ferran on the inside, the green flag waves and away they go. Franchitti on the outside, de Ferran on the inside. Franchitti's been hit by Vassar, but he collected it, got it back together again, stays in second place. Vassar moves up into third. Christian Fittipaldi up to fourth. Michael has made a dreadful start. Michael's way back in about sixth position, and he's under attack from Greg Moore.
Canan coming up too in a McDonald's car. A great start by Christian Fittipaldi. Now Franchitti challenges for the lead in turn 3. He's able to do it. Watch out for that slippy concrete, everybody, especially on these colder tyres the first time around.
Great pass by Dario Franchitti, absolutely perfect, lined up Gilles de Ferran.
Getting by Michael Andretti on the inside.
Yes, so Tony Kanaan makes up a place, and Michael Andretti made a dreadful start. Often we don't see Michael Andretti make such a bad start. It's Christian Fittipaldi, his teammate, who started in 5th place, who got away much, much better. He's in 4th position, but watch out for Dario. Dario, who was on pole position here 2 years ago, his first ever pole in Champ Cars. He lost it at the first corner in contact with Bobby Rahal. Last year, he led 76 laps and dominated the race until a brake problem put him into a spin. Look at this. This is Andretti versus Kanaan. Andretti on the inside, Kanaan on the outside. How do you squeeze 2 cars through there? I do not know, but they're still side by side as they go down the backstretch.
Michael Andretti on board here. Watch the Kanaan down the right-hand side. You'll see how Michael's favouring it because it gives him the inside line going into 3. But Kanaan's got the better grip for braking on the outside line there.
Oh, it's great stuff, man.
Montoya's trying to get by Castro Neves. He lost 1 position at the start, dropped back to 9th where he runs now, but he's battling with Castro Neves in that Lola.
Yes, that's right, and he's made up that position, but he's still behind Kanaan. So Castro Neves, in fact, had got past Montoya, and now Montoya's got back past Castro Neves. So these two are having a good dice at the moment, and it's Montoya who's got himself into 9th position again. Let's take another look at the start. What happened to Michael? He's on the 2nd row, and Christian got down the inside of Michael as Dario got hit from behind by Vassar.
Now, the thing is, although Dario got tapped, as we take a look at Dario's now move on Gilles to take the lead on the first lap, has it affected Dario at all? It may have a very slow puncture, it may have a slight bit of damage, which in this, if it costs you a 1/10 of a second, it's so competitive, you go from first to last in a hurry. Dario's main thing now on these opening laps of this clear track is to really try and build up a bit of a lead.
Yes, that's what he's got to do, make the break. Meanwhile, look at that, that was Mimo Gidley in the white and blue car, trying to get past Cristiano De Mata, side by side, down towards turn number 3. 2 rookies, these two, and they get through safely. And unfortunately, Gidley couldn't quite make the move stick, so Cristiano De Mata, who lies in 14th place, with Mimo Gidley 15th. Behind them, it's Maurizio Gutermin in 16th. But Dario Franchitti showing the sort of class and the sort of form that we expected earlier this year. He's yet to win a race this season, and he's making the break in the early laps here, very early stages of the race in Toronto. Look at the lead he's already developed. It was 2.6 seconds last lap, now it's 3.4 seconds, so he gained 0.8 of a second on just that last lap, as Kanaan also had another look. Yes,
He got it. Tony Kanaan down the inside of Michael Andretti. He's been fighting for that position the last couple of laps. He's pulled it off, and that will now put Kanaan up into the 7th position.
great stuff from Tony Kanaan, who needs a good result. And look who's behind them.
Montoya.
It's Juan Montoya, and he's trying to get involved here. We've seen 1 or 2 incidents between Montoya and Andretti this year. Let's hope they can keep it nice and clean as they head on up now. We switch from the onboard with Michael to the onboard camera with Juan Montoya, trying to find just that little bit of space required to squeeze past that Newman Haas Swift.
Interesting run. Honda have won the last 9 temporary road course races. Of course, Montoya in a Honda Ford for Michael Andretti.
Yes, Honda seem to have the edge when it comes to drivability, accelerating out of these sort of corners, these 90-degree corners, although Ford have done a lot of work on it. They've done a lot of extra work on the transient dyno up in Detroit this year. I know the Cosworth boys are very happy with the progress that they've made there, and they're hoping that that progress will translate into good race performance here this afternoon. Their top runner at the moment, of course, is Fittipaldi, because he's running in 4th place, the winner at Road America, and he seems to be running very consistently at this stage.
There's Greg Moore in the Mercedes in the blue and white players car coming up on Paul Tracy, a fellow Canadian. Good Canadian battle going on. And our leader, Dario Franchitti, trying to stretch his lead, because he knows at this point Montoya had his 2nd worst qualification of the year, and this is a good chance for Franchitti to make up some points in that championship battle as he builds his leads over Gilles de Ferran, Jimmy Vasser, Christian Fittipaldi, Tracy, Moore, Canan, Michael Andretti, and then Montoya.
Juan Montoya had started badly but was knocked out of the race when he collided with Jourdain on lap 60. With Montoya out, the only thing that stood between Franchitti and his first win of the season was teammate Paul Tracy.
Up front, Dario Franchitti coming around this time to complete lap number 91. There are 4 more laps to do here in Toronto to finally crack this race, which has seen him score pole position twice, but both times for it to go wrong.
About 7 miles for Dario Franchitti. After not getting the pole, he had said, well, I'll try starting from the outside pole, because starting from pole has not worked well for me. The first one, of course, racing for Hogan in his first year in the kart series, and it was one of Hogan's first poles in a long, long time, and unfortunately he tangled together with the retired Bobby Rahal. Last year he started from pole, led 76 laps, brake pedal disappeared from him, and that left it down to Michael Andretti and Alex Zanardi to battle it out. Zanardi went on to win. Christian Fittipaldi, I must say, at this point, is closing on Paul Tracy.
He is a little bit closer, isn't he? But it doesn't seem to be consistent enough. He doesn't seem to be able to really close up enough to challenge for that position. And the Canadian crowd are enjoying seeing one of their drivers up there in second place, a potential podium finish for Canada here today. They've seen problems for Greg Moore. They've seen Carpentier struggle this afternoon as well. But Paul Tracy does look as though he's going to be on the podium, and Fittipaldi again another podium here today. 92 laps completed, 3 laps to go. Moreno crosses the line and Max Papis crosses the line, and let's just talk about Max for a moment, because this is going to be one of his best results of the season. He did have a 4th place finish at Rio, which is his best of the year, and a 5th place at Gateway, but this would...
Oh, big trouble for Tony Kanaan.
Oh no,
Had a great run.
he must have made contact, surely, perhaps at the last corner. Looks as though he's sideswiped the wall, because it's ripped off the right. Yeah, look, debris, top left of your screen, and Tony Kanaan has hit the wall out of that final corner. He was running in 7th position, or 8th position behind Scott Pruitt, and it looks as though it's all over for the young Brazilian.
And there's so much debris right in the middle of the track. Watch out, Paul, watch out, Paul.
Yeah,
he's run over the debris. They're showing just the local. I'm surprised, because one of these guys could easily rip a tyre. Well, they're going to try and finish this race under green with just 2 to go.
I'll tell you what, Dario ran over some of that stuff. You saw it flicking up, and those are little bits of carbon fibre that are terribly sharp when they if they get stuck into the tyre. Gugelmin! Oh! What's happened to Gugelmin? He's gone down the escape road. He was running in 8th, but he's kept the engine running, and he may not lose too much ground, but of course, remember, they were all so close. He is going to lose a number of places, and he is trying to rejoin. It's not turn 1, it's up at the last part of the circuit, turn number 9 that was, and Gugelmin does rejoin, but loses a great many places.
There's going to be a brand new racing line through the left-hander, turn 11. I would stay tight and on the inside, forget the speed, just stay off the debris for that last lap.
A big scare for Franchitti there as he ran over bits and pieces.
If he runs tight here, you know, Barry Green probably saying, stay tight, stay tight, stay tight. Oh no, he ran out pretty wide.
Not so much debris around at the moment, though. I think that they probably cleared it last time around, and they are on to the last lap. And Dario Franchitti has just got to keep it together for about 1.5 miles now to take his first win of the 1999 season. He looked as though he was going to win at Homestead in the season opener, but they did have a problem there. It looks as though he... Let's just see. He may be losing a little bit of time. We're worried that he may have picked up a slow puncture, but I think it's all right. The car looks okay. It's handling all right, and he's only got to make it round a few more corners.
Yeah, but Paul Tracy's right there. Christian Fittipaldi right there. Oh, my. Moreno in 4th, Papis in 5th.
He's okay. I'm sure he's all right now. There are just 3 more corners to go. The right up at turn number 9, through turn 10, and through the last right and left that leads on to the start-finish line. Dario Franchitti takes his first win of the 1999 season and kickstarts his championship hopes once again. Paul Tracy takes the 2nd place. It's a 1-2 for Team Green. A fabulous day for Barry Green and all the personnel there. And Fittipaldi, winner last week, takes 3rd place. He's on the podium again. Roberto Moreno matches his best of the season with 4th place. Max Papis in 5th place.
Tony Kanaan won the US 500 in Michigan, and Montoya and Franchitti managed top 10 finishes. But how would the Flying Scotsman and the rookie sensation get on in Detroit?
So, up front, it's Juan Montoya and Paul Tracy on the front row. Gilles de Ferran and Dario Franchitti on the second, and we're going to go racing. The green flag waves. Montoya makes a great start. Paul Tracy dives to the inside to cover himself, and there's contact. Out into the outside goes Papis. Max Papis, who lost out in Michigan, gets punted into the tyre wall at the opening of the race.
Well, he started alongside. Look at the Team Cool Green teammates there darting over second base. Look at Tony Kanaan around the outside there of Gilles de Ferran, and the yellow flags are not yet out. They are here. I don't think they were there. Just a local yellow here in turn one. That's where our booth is. But what a great start there by Tony Kanaan up into fourth place.
He started in sixth, and you ride on board here with Roberto Moreno, who lost a couple of places there. He started in fifth, but Gilles de Ferran, who started in front of him anyway, is ahead, but so is Tony Kanaan, who started alongside Moreno. It's Montoya from Tracy, from Franchitti, then a gap, then Kanaan, de Ferran and Moreno, and you ride on board with Roberto Moreno standing in for Christian Fittipaldi again this weekend. And we hear that it has gone full course yellow. We've got a safety car out on the track here at turn number 1. That's just opposite our booth. As you ride with Roberto Moreno, there is Max Papis getting out. He cannot believe it. I don't know who he got punted by, but hopefully we'll get a chance to look at the replay in just a moment.
Well, alongside him on the grid was his own teammate, Brian Hurd. Let's look here. They're about the 6th or 7th row there, and there's one of the players' cars there locking up on the inside, outside. Oh, yes. And it was actually Patrick Carponche that slid into Max Papis there, launches Max Papis' right rear wheel. Off he goes to the left. Absolutely nothing he can do about it. And yet more heartbreak for this likeable Italian driver.
On the restart, Montoya was out in front again.
Jump already.
He's on the restart, the green flag, but watch out for Paul Tracy as they come down into turn 1. Now, can they get through turn 1 safely this time? They're single file, remember, on the restart, as opposed to side by side. And look at Franchitti. Franchitti's got a run on his teammate. Now then, these two have had their comings together in the past. Let's hope they can keep it clean. It is possible to go around the outside into turn 3, and it looks as though he thought about it, but decided against it, which is pretty sensible. Blundell has been into the pits. Now, that's a very early stop. Don't know what the problem was there for Mark Blundell. It's a different colour scheme. If you're wondering why I'm saying that's Mark Blundell, don't look for those normal orange and blue colours. He's got a silver, black and red car this weekend just to confuse us. But Blundell's got out of the pits, and up front the battle is between Montoya, Tracy and Dario Franchitti.
And was it incredible again how fast Juan Montoya got through turns 1 and 2 there at the start of the race. Tracy was all over him at the restart, but Montoya pulled away a couple of car lengths through that first turn. I gave him a jump onto that long straight, and then it was up to Tracy to hold off Dario Franchitti. A great restart again from Juan Montoya. He's so fantastic on cold tyres.
We're hearing the problem for Mark Blundell was a puncture, so whether he ran over some debris or perhaps clipped the wall somewhere, difficult to know, but it means that Blundell has rejoined at the back of the pack now. Juan Montoya with the advantage over Paul Tracy, and Dario Franchitti slotted in right behind. Remember, these two Team Green cars finished first and second in Toronto, and it looks as though they're in fine form here again. And we've got a same combination running in the top 4 places here. Would you believe that? Reynard Honda, Reynard Honda, Reynard Honda, Reynard Honda. That's how the top 4 places. Franchitti's down the inside of Tracy. Oh, they're being careful with each other. They're not doing anything too risky, but Franchitti is desperate to get past Tracy because he can see Montoya is beginning to pull away up front. Franchitti's had a bit of a tough weekend so far. He had a crash in Friday qualifying in his main car, and he went out in the spare car only for the spare car to just stop out on track. So he didn't put in a time at all on Friday afternoon. He managed to dig himself out of that hole in Saturday qualifying, putting it 4th on the grid, and it does look as though Franchitti's able to go that much faster.
Montoya had built up a big lead when Magnussen and Gordon decided to get to know each other a little better. Franchitti snatched the lead when Montoya was forced to take a late pit stop.
And here comes Juan Montoya, because he doesn't need a whole heck of a lot of fuel.
10-4. When that fuel's in, I'm going to tell you to go.
I think they're just going to do a fuel stop. I think they've decided not to change tyres.
Nice and easy. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down.
Let's listen up. Listen to the radio. They are changing tyres. They are refueling at the same time. The leaders have gone past. Franchitti takes the lead.
Go!
And away he goes. Away goes Juan Montoya, and it will rejoin. He's rejoined with that battle that we've been watching of Vassar and that lot Moreno Canard. And Montoya's in the background. Watch out as they all jostle for position. There's Vassar, there is Moreno Canard, and then Montoya is side by side with Blundell as he goes into turn 3.
It's actually the lap car of Magnussen, and right behind Magnussen there is Mark Blundell, and Magnussen gets out of the way. Good move behind Magnussen, and lets Mark Blundell go through there. And Montoya on cold tyres, don't forget, rejoins the race in 8th position.
Right, so now we really have a race on our hands, because Montoya on new tyres with enough fuel to get through to the end easily and able to run the car flat out, full rich. 17 laps to go, but can he overtake?
With just a few laps to go under a full course yellow, Montoya suffered more bad luck.
Franchitti is reporting on his radio that he thinks he's seen some fluid coming from the pace car. Would you believe it or not? He's a little bit concerned about that. No surprises there. I hope there's nothing wrong with the pace car. That really would get a bit silly.
Well, of course, he'll be hoping that the pace car stays out another couple of laps so he doesn't have to go back to green. So pretty good move there by the Team Cool Green there. If he can get another couple of laps of caution, then he won't need to go back to green, and all his worries are over.
Apparently they're going to get another pace car out, so they're going to do a swap of pace cars. There it is, there's the next pace car. It's going to take over. They're doing a relay here of pace cars. They have enough of them. The PPG pace cars always here on hand at the Champ Car races. Beautiful machines, and beautifully coloured by PPG as well. They provide paint finishes for the automobile industry, and they certainly put on a big show with their PPG pace cars at all of the Champ Car events. Franchitti leading them round then. There are just 2.5 minutes before the checkered flag is due to be waved. Oh, and what?
Yeah, I was just going to say, look at that. That is Juan Montoya. He has lost it as well. I was just watching the cars come past the booth here, and Castro Neves went past right behind Tony Kanaan, and look, here we are. Here's a replay.
Oh, he got hit by Castro Neves.
Oh, my goodness.
He got hit by Castro Neves when they were all weaving around trying to pick up some tyre temperature. Would you believe it? The same place as Gilles de Ferran crashed himself earlier on in this race, and Castro Neves has run into the back of championship leader Juan Montoya. It's all over for the Colombian, who looks set to take an easy win here today.
You know, there'd been some rumours earlier on this season that Helio Castro Neves had been pursued by Chip Ganassi, perhaps even to take over from Jimmy Vassar, even though Vassar has another year on his contract. Well, that won't do his negotiations any good, and in any case, I think Castro Neves probably will stay where he is at Hogan Racing. Oh dear, look, there is the wheel, the left front wheel hanging off that car. You know, if he can keep going around, if he does stay yellow, which he might well do, then if he can just keep that car running in any way, shape or form, he will still pick up a finish. But what a disappointing, what a tragic way to finish the race for those two drivers.
Oh, what a shame. I mean, Helio Castro Neves, it's just a silly mistake, but let's watch from the onboard.
Well, look, he slowed right down. Why is he slowed right down at that stage? Now he gets on the throttle and then stops again as he gets so close up behind Tony Kanaan. So, you know, there's some jockeying around there, but even so, it's up to the driver behind to keep enough of a gap behind to the guy in front of him. So certainly you have to blame Helio Castro Neves for that incident. You know, it's the guy behind who is guilty in the terms of a nose-to-tail accident, in my book at least. And poor Juan Montoya, that is absolute disaster for him. And of course, with Franchitti, if he wins the race, then in actual fact, Franchitti will move into the lead of the championship then.
That's right, it's a major change. That was the replay from onboard Jan Magnussen. And you saw Montoya accelerated and Castro Neves accelerated at the same time, and then jinked right, but just ran into the back of Montoya's car. It is difficult when they're all following each other so closely and accelerating and braking, as they tend to do when they're warming the tyres up. It's a bit like being stuck on a motorway when the traffic's sort of shunting forwards and backwards, and of course there's no brake lights to be able to watch. Let's go and hear from Juan Montoya, who's now down in pit lane, and we should hear from him in just a moment. I think he's going to catch up with Gary Gerald in just a second. Let's go down and hear from him.
And Juan, what happened there? Hit from behind?
Well, the pacer came in, and nobody, I think car radio the team's really late because nobody said anything to me. And everyone started going because nobody knew if it was a restart or no. And, you know, everyone went, and they braked, I braked, and I don't know, I think it was Castro Neves didn't even bother to brake and went straight to the back of me. You know, I think, you know, I don't say anything because I get in trouble again, but...
Well, now that's interesting. That is interesting. The pace car did come in, as we were saying, because there was a problem that it might have been leaking fluid. And the guys who didn't know what was going on, they thought the race was restarting. That's why Montoya dropped back and then accelerated.
Yep.
That's why Castroneves started to go, but perhaps then Montoya backed off, suddenly realizing no one else was going quickly, and that's why Castroneves ran into the back of Montoya. So, ironically, that might all have been set up by that pace car leaking fluid.
Boy, what a embarrassment, basically, that is. And Castroneves, there he is with a wheel hanging off the car. And this race will finish under yellow, which is a great travesty for this big crowd here. What a disappointing way to finish this race. It was really looking to be a thrilling finish, and we've been absolutely robbed of that through just a catalogue of comedy of errors, if you like.
Well, Dario Franchitti's heading for his second win. The checkered flag will await him at the end of this lap.
So Franchitti picks up win number 2, but how would the clearly distraught Montoya react in Lexington, Ohio?
Green flag flies. Here we go. Down toward the first turn. So far through that corner, everybody's okay. Oh, could they have gotten it done? Well, in fact, they may have. Through the first set of turns now on this shortened lap, the first lap here at the race. Now down to the bottom section of the course, beginning to climb back up.
You can see Franchitti pulling away from Herta. Tracy obviously very quick at this stage, having problems trying to figure out how to exercise that superiority over Brian Herta. Brian much more cautious this year than last year going down into turn 5 on that start.
Looking at Herta and Tracy, Jimmy Vasser was able to drop into 4th place, and there you see Allinger Jr. coming back after a fairly lengthy pit stop.
They were trying to have radio communication problems. They were trying to get it fixed. The only solution they thought was changing his helmet, but now he's already a lap down and out of this race, Paul.
On the Mid-Ohio Sports Car course, if you can't keep on the lead lap, you have a very serious problem. So Allinger Jr. starts with that deficit right out. And he is the only Penske car in competition this weekend.
You can see slots there in front of Juan Montoya. Montoya having a difficult weekend, didn't get a lot of track time because of the rain yesterday. Didn't get the car to his liking, was very fast this morning in warm-up, but very frustrated.
At the end of the first lap, Greg Moore scored in 22nd place, so he begins his climb through the field, starting in 25th, 3 spots forward.
And Mark Lindell is shadowing him. We talked Mark Lindell had qualified 3rd provisionally on Friday. In tech inspection, his car was just a few thousandths of an inch below the 2-inch rule. That is, the outer side pods were just a little lower than they should have been, and they put him back to the last starting position.
Juan Montoya on the pit straight. He's caught up behind Allinger Jr., trying to catch Gil DeFerrin, who has just disappeared around the corner in turn 1. Tony Kanaan, who started 4th, lost a position on the start of the race and dropped back. Finally, Montoya makes his move to clear Allinger Jr. And look at this fight for 2nd. Tracy moves into 2nd.
That was a brilliant move. He set up Brian Herta perfectly going down the long back straightaway downhill. 190 miles an hour, tried to slipstream to the inside. Brian blocked him there. He went back to the outside, outbroke him on line, aggressively turned across the front of Brian Herta. Great move there by Paul Tracy.
And now Brian Herta has to worry about Jimmy Vasser and Tony Kanaan. Matter of fact, Helio Castroneves is sitting just behind and fairly tight to Kanaan as well. Off the carousel, back to the pit straight. 3 laps complete.
And at this stage, you can see him back up behind Brian Herta here. I think Jimmy Vasser's going to try to figure out how to get by the same way that Tracy did, now pulling Tony Kanaan along with him. The Hondas, you've got to keep in mind here now, are 1st, 2nd, 4th, and 5th. Very strong, great drivability. Now, what Jimmy's got to do coming off this last corner up in turn 2, leading onto the back straightaway, he's got to be close enough to pick up a draft behind Brian. And as they come through the kink, in turn number 4 here, he's got to be able to pull down the inside, but I don't think he's got quite a run on him. He's got to really concentrate on this entire lap, setting up Brian Herta to come off that turn number 2 much, much closer than he did that previous lap. Tony's going to obviously try to use the same strategy on Jimmy Vasser.
And while we watch this fight for third, at the front, Franchitti has pulled out 3.3 seconds on Paul Tracy. And there goes Paul Tracy. You can see he's pulled out pretty well on Brian Herta.
And right now, the two Team Green cars are nearly 2 seconds quicker than anyone else on the track, with the exception of Castroneves and DeFerrin, but they're over 1.5 seconds quicker than those two cars. So Team Green obviously has the mechanical grip figured out for this demanding Mid-Ohio circuit, and aerodynamically they are dialed in, and there goes Tony Kanaan through the first corner. A very difficult place to pass. You really have to take a risk there, but Tony managed to do it cleanly. Looks like Jimmy Vasser is having problems coming off the low-speed corners because Tony was able to get that done cleanly.
Franchitti held the lead until lap 56.
So Franchitti off. Tracy stays out. Montoya keeps the pursuit going. Franchitti has to come all the way down to the end of the pits, and Gary Gerald's right there.
This is where races are obviously won and lost when it's tough to pass on the course.
You'll be fine.
This is a couple of laps earlier than we might have thought based on the first stop. Little problem momentarily on the right front. Got it. No wing changes. Franchitti is rolling.
And here comes Montoya as he works on Tracy. Tracy on the inside line down, but he can't hold the position. Will Tracy be in a good position to keep it and come back? No, he can't. Montoya moves into the lead, but both of these cars are due in any moment now. Jimmy Vasser did come into the pits. Routine stop for Vasser. So Montoya gets the pass, but now the pit crews will have to battle it out.
And that was the exact same move that we saw Paul Tracy put on Brian Herta at the beginning of the race.
One car off. Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr. through the gravel pit and up against the tires. Boy, kicked up a lot of dust. And Robbie Gordon is in the pits, and he just came in, and Gordon's out. Still yellow only in that one spot of the race course. Montoya and Tracy both continued on. Still local yellow only. Tracy's not able to challenge Montoya. Here's a replay of Unser Jr. off at turn one.
Wow, he came into turn one hot on the outside, got the brakes locked, and you can tell that, boy, once it went off and got in the marbles, there was no farther changing direction or much loss of speed for that matter. He went off there a ton. Fortunately, the gravel trap helped slow him down a little bit, and double rows of tires helped to lessen the impact.
And the angle of attack also wasn't that bad. Al Unser Jr. climbs out of the car through the fence, and you can do a climb like that, you're obviously okay.
Montoya had built up a huge lead with just a couple of laps to go.
This will be the finish of the 81st lap. 83 the scheduled distance. Montoya through one. Everybody rich on fuel. They can go as fast as they want. Montoya, though, unchallenged here with 2 to go. Montoya's family is here, his father, his girlfriend. They're all at the track. Most of the drivers now have taken to using motor coaches to stay, especially at a beautiful scenic place like the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, so that they're right there in the paddock, not far from their car. In the paddock here on Friday night, they had the taste of kart at Mid-Ohio for the championship auto racing auxiliary charity. Every one of the hospitality units put out some sort of refreshment, food. All the chefs went to work. It was a great evening.
Great layouts, and we must add that one of the hospitality areas, specifically Honda,
white flag, 1 to go.
had their chefs and crew dressed up in Gilligan's Island outfits, since their whole theme was South Pacific seafoods, and it was pretty riotous to see.
The fans here had a good time with it. Final lap for Juan Montoya. Tracy came across the line 11 seconds behind. Franchitti, as he came across the line, was really not in a challenging position on Tracy. Jimmy Vasser 14 seconds back.
And Paul Kipkanassi doing some cheerleading for Jimmy Vasser. He'd like him on this last lap to be able to somehow get by Franchitti and deprive him of one more of those precious championship points.
Well, that in fact is a possibility at this point. Montoya's going to encounter some slower traffic down as he gets to the lower elevations of the course. This turns him back up the hill and back up toward the pit area.
He'll just lay back here, Paul. He's got such a big lead. He's not going to take any chances or push.
Juan Montoya on his way to his very first win on a natural road course and his first win since Cleveland.
Beautiful, beautiful. You're the man. Great job today driving. You did a great job driving today.
Montoya, his 5th win of the year. They're going to take you back to that battle for second, see if it indeed is one. And it's not, and there comes Jimmy Vasser across the line as well. Vasser's going to finish it in 4th. Now back a little further. Greg Moore, Robbie Gordon, that whole group lined up there. Andretti and D'Amata. They come through the pace. Moore is trying to get on top of Gordon coming to the finish, and he can't do it. So the race is run. Montoya takes the win by 10.93 seconds over Paul Tracy, followed by Franchitti, Vasser, Pappas, and Gil de Ferran.
Montoya's win in Ohio had equaled Nigel Mansell's record for wins by a rookie. Could he sweep aside Mansell's record in the Windy City?
26 cars all lined up for the start of this new race at the Chicago Motor Speedway. We're in the Cicero suburb of Chicago itself. We've got railway lines and roads on either side of the track, but we're focused right now on this new 1-mile oval. Max Papis and Mark Blundell on the front row together as they accelerate out of turn, and it's a yellow. Yeah. Papis went a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, he did. The pace was very slow through turns 3 and 4 there, and Max Papis trying to steal a march on the field. He jumped on the throttle there, had a huge jump coming off the corner, and that's not the way it works on these oval tracks. Jim Swintel, the official starter of kart, he sat down with those front row qualifiers yesterday afternoon, and that's exactly what I told them not to do.
Just analyse the race. It is a 225 lap event. Maximum speed's about 200 miles an hour at the end of the straights, but there's a lot of braking into the turns, and so they're down to 125 in the turns themselves. Fuel range between 65 and 70, perhaps even 75 laps around this track. Now then, let's see if we can get a green this time.
Yeah, what the starter wants is for Max Papis to bring these cars up to speed at a steady acceleration rather than just jumping on the throttle. And Mark Blundell is hanging back there. That's, well, I think the problem there was Mark Blundell. For some reason, he did not want to stay with Max Papis. And I'm not so sure. That's 2 yellow flag stars now. The starter's not going to like to do 3. And that was Mark Blundell's problem. The first time was Max Papis jumping too soon, and that one was because Mark Blundell held back. They both have to maintain position. They've been told about this before in the drivers' meeting yesterday afternoon, and I don't think the starter is going to tolerate another penalty there. I think he might well be issuing some penalties unless they get this start clean and proper next time around.
All right, well, the drivers certainly were keen that they built the speed up out of turn 4 rather than going into turn 3. Because of the tight nature of these corners, they didn't want to be hard on it going into turn 3, the area they're at now. So they all agreed yesterday that they wouldn't get on it until they came out of turn 4, which is just the area they're going through now. Let's hope that they can keep it all together this time, side by side, as they come out of turn 4. Max Papis gets the brake again, and it's yellow. It's still yellow. Blundell still slow away off turn 4.
Well, it's fairly ridiculous, actually, I have to say. And you can see there that Franchitti is pulling up alongside Mark Blundell as if to say, what the heck are you doing? Stay with him. You know you're supposed to accelerate off that turn. And if he doesn't do it this time around, I think they may well penalise Mark Blundell. That time, it looked like a pretty good start. The guys behind Max Papis stayed right with him under acceleration, and Blundell again lagged.
Well, apparently, race control is putting a message to Blundell to say, keep up with Papis, you're dropping back too much. Let's see what happens this time. Papis and Blundell lead the field around. Can they get a clean start this time? They've tried 3 times already, and now we've got to try again as they come off turn 4. Blundell still slow away, but they get the green, and Papis leads as they head down to turn 1 for the first racing lap here, and Vasser trying to get inside Blundell. Franchitti trying to go around the outside of Vasser. Franchitti on the outside, the battle for 3rd place as they go up the back stretch, and Franchitti just noses ahead as they head up towards turn number 3. Vasser's back to 4th, then it's Castro Neves. Montoya's made a pretty good getaway as well, and he's got past Greg Moore. You're on board with Juan Montoya sliding the car around on cold tyres, and we know how effective he can be on those cold tyres.
And some side-by-side racing down to the pack. there is Brian Herter there, just squeaking ahead of Roberto Moreno. And there is Greg Moore or Patrick Carponche back on the outside of PJ Jones. Very, very tight down the back straight. Very, very close as they shuffle themselves around midway through the pack.
Mark Blundell has dropped back a little bit in second. Look at the battle that's going on there between Herter, D'Amata, and there is Franchitti coming up past Blundell. Franchitti gets straight past Mark Blundell down into turn one. That looked like a very good, clean manoeuvre, and now he goes chasing after Max Papis.
Absolutely was a great manoeuvre there by Franchitti. Got a great run off turn 4 and got the move done into turn 1. Vassar tried to do the same into 3. Look at him there. It has almost come to a stop, and he gets a run even then off Mark Blundell. Mark Blundell's car is clearly not handling well at this stage in the race. I think the car is loose in mid-corner. He can't get on the throttle because when he does so, the back end steps round him. He's understeering there. He can't get it into the corner either. Can't get it in, can't get it off. Big problem for Mark Blundell.
He's all over the place, and he's being passed by Juan Montoya now. Remember, they're on a full tank of fuel, and the car balance can change appreciably from what they had in qualifying. Blundell's car obviously worked brilliantly on a light fuel load in qualifying, but he is really struggling.
Montoya made steady progress through the field, finally catching race leader Max Papis on lap 63. Montoya and Franchitti traded the lead several times. Montoya finally seemed to come out on top after a pit stop on lap 165.
Dario Franchitti is also heading into the pits now.
Ready?
Looks like a good stop for Montoya.
Go, go, go.
Fuel is in and away he goes. 11.7 seconds.
Excellent stop by Target Chip Ganassi Racing and Rob Hill and the crew there. Another exemplary stop, and now Team Cool Green. That is Kyle Moyer and the crew will go to work on the car number 27. There they are, ready for service for Dario Franchitti.
In he comes then, ready for his tyre change and refueling. The pressure is on, but these guys do it every day. Back at the factory, there's a front wing change as well. Now that's interesting. We didn't see any changes on Montoya's car. Out comes Dario across the line, and there goes Montoya as they race side by side, one on the inside, one on the outside. Montoya is ahead of Franchitti as they come back out onto the track, and Montoya leads this race. Franchitti runs second. Again, it's the top two in the championship who will decide the outcome of today's race.
Montoya and Franchitti were still battling it out with 10 laps to go.
We're into the last 10-lap sprint now. It really is counting down to the end of this race. The first race at the Chicago Motor Speedway. And it looks as though Juan Montoya can hold on for victory here. But the pressure from Dario Franchitti is relentless as we are into the last section of this race, the last sprint. And it could still go either way. PJ Jones still in front of these two. Remember that Jimmy Vassar runs in third place. Max Papis is still fourth. Helio Castroneves in fifth position, then Patrick Carpentier making his return to the series, driving great this afternoon, and he's in sixth place as Moreno has another little look down the inside of Franchitti, and Franchitti has to let him through this time. He has no choice. Moreno with the faster car goes ahead of Franchitti, but remember, that's not for position. That's just Moreno trying to unlap himself, but it does mean that he now lies between the two leaders.
That was close, wasn't it? And Franchitti didn't want to let him go. But, you know, who knows? It might turn out to be in his favour to have done that. Now, can Moreno make a move on Juan Montoya? And if he does, will he slow up Montoya?
Okay,
and will that give the opportunity for Dario Franchitti to make a pass as well as Barry Green there on the radio to Franchitti? He is still P2, and Barry Green said that is not a battle for position. Don't worry about that. Just keep your eyes focused on this car, the car we're on board with, the Target Chip Ganassi Racing car of Juan Montoya.
Just 6 laps to go now, and Moreno in behind Juan Montoya, not for position, just trying to unlap himself, but really just, it's a wild card in the pack there that we're wondering, how is this going to come out? For the moment, it's working to Montoya's advantage because the gap between Montoya and Franchitti, first and second, has definitely opened up, and as they come out of the last turn, and you're looking there at Jimmy Vassar and Max Papis, that's the distance between those two. Very similar battles, really, for the lead and for third place. It's Vassar third, Papis fourth, two good friends, and look how close they are with Helio Castroneves right in behind them as well. Max was saying after the press conference yesterday that Jimmy has helped him a lot in his years here in America, particularly on the ovals, and he says, you know, Jimmy's been a bit of a coach to me. He says sometimes the young kid comes along and beats the coach. That's what he's trying to do here this afternoon, and it's pretty close between these two.
Great stuff here. This is really exciting. Building down to the final stages now. Just 4 laps to go. It'll be 3 when they come past next time around as they go into the across the start-finish line one more time. So, oh, it's close here. There's not much. That is a battle for 3rd position there, with Jimmy Vasser still maintaining position ahead of Papis, and there, right behind them, is Helio Castroneves.
Papis looking for that slight opportunity. He's got Ford horsepower. Remember, 3 different engine units in the battle here. Honda in the back of Vasser's car, Ford in the back of Papis' car, Mercedes in the back of Helio Castroneves' car, and it's the Ford horsepower of Max Papis that might just give him the edge on the long straights here. But look, there's the lead battle, and Montoya still ahead of Moreno, but it's Franchitti who runs in 2nd place. Lots of traffic to deal with. Franchitti gets past Hattori okay, safely. Hattori runs wide, and there's just 2 laps to go, less than 2 laps to go as they head along the backstretch. Montoya's looking good here today. There will be the white flag awaiting him as he comes out of turn 4 on this occasion. Is he going to take a record-breaking 6th win for a rookie in his first season? Juan Montoya is breaking all the records, and it looks as though he's going to break another record here today. He's going to win at his team owner's own racetrack, Chip Ganassi's racetrack here in Chicago, the brand new facility, and it's Chip Ganassi's driver who is going to win here this afternoon. He's withstood all the pressure. He started 10th, but Juan Montoya takes the applause from the grandstand. Montoya wins it.
You are the man, baby. You
And Chip Ganassi.
Oh, thanks, guys. Beautiful pistol. Beautiful everything.
And there you really hear the delight in Montoya's voice. He worked for that one, and he really appreciates it. Vasser takes 3rd from Max Papis. Great battle between those 2 throughout this race. And Team Rahal pretty happy there. I think Bobby pleased with what his man did today. A 4th place finish. But Montoya, the winner, once again, win number 6 in the book. And that means he takes the championship lead back from Dario Franchitti.
With 15 out of 20 races won, the championship is still up for grabs. Montoya leads the way with 172 points, Franchitti just behind with 168, Michael Andretti 3rd on 124, Paul Tracy 4th with 122, and on 101 and in 5th place is Fittipaldi.